This is the long haul, a sleep story. It is the year 2283. You are the captain of the MSV Meridian, a cargo freighter on the long circuit through the inner solar system. Today you are arriving at the moon, Shackleton Crater Colony, the oldest settlement off Earth. You have a cargo to deliver, a letter to carry, and 6 hours to walk through a place where people have lived for 240 years. A place where birch trees grow under glass and redwood forests rise inside ancient lava tubes. A place where the Earth hangs in the sky, blue and bright, 384,000 kilometers away. Close your eyes, settle in, let the journey carry you to rest. You wake to the soft chime of the ship's clock, set to UTC. The cabin is dim. The overhead panel glows a faint amber, brightening slowly, the way it does every morning, simulating a sunrise that is happening nowhere near here. You lie still for a moment, feeling the hum of the drive through the bunk frame. It has been there for weeks, that hum. You have stopped hearing it, but you feel it, low and steady, in the bones of your hands and the base of your spine. You swing your legs out and set your feet on the warm deck plate. The cabin is 3 meters by 4, a narrow bunk built into the bulkhead, a fold-down desk with a scratched surface, a viewport the size of a dinner plate. The walls are bare composite panels, off-white, warm to the touch from the heating ducts behind them. On the shelf above the desk, a row of paperback books is held in place by a bungee cord. Old habit, old books. A photograph is taped to the wall above the desk, a valley on Earth, green in rain. You look at it for a moment, as you do most mornings, and then you look away. The viewport shows the moon. It fills the gray and cratered, closer than it was when you fell asleep. The Terminator line cuts across the southern highlands, sharp and clean, light and shadow. You can see the edge of Shackleton Crater, the rim catching sunlight, the interior still dark. You pull on a soft suit. The ship runs at 0.8 Earth gravity from the centrifugal ring, enough to keep your muscles from wasting but light enough that everything feels slightly easier than it should. Your arms feel buoyant, your steps feel long. After weeks at this gravity you have adjusted. You move through the ship with the slow, measured ease of someone who has learned that rushing in reduced gravity only makes things more difficult. You walk forward to the galley. The ship smells of recycled air, machine oil, and whatever the galley is cooking. Today it smells like oatmeal and coffee. The coffee machine, the single most important piece of equipment on the ship, produces a cup that is acceptable. You wrap your hands around it and feel the warmth through the ceramic. The Meridian is 82 meters of scarred hull and rebuilt systems, 26 years old, registry out of Tycho City, Luna. She is not fast and she is not beautiful, but she is yours. You sit at the galley table with whoever else is awake. The first mate, Rosario, is reading a technical manual with her coffee. The engineer, Patel, is eating oatmeal and staring at the bulkhead. Nobody talks much before the first cup. This is the way the ship's day begins. Quietly, the engines humming in the deck plates, the moon growing in the forward viewport. You have been on the run from Mars for 3 weeks, 400 tons of cargo in modular containers locked to the ship's spine. 42 of those containers hold medical supplies, surgical equipment, pharmaceuticals, bioprinting substrate from the Orbital Medical Fabrication Facility at Earth Luna L1. Shackleton Colony's hospital has been waiting 3 months for this shipment. You carry the manifest in your pocket like a promise. You also carry a letter. A handwritten letter folded twice, sealed in an envelope, from an old shipmate's daughter on Mars. Her name is Suki. Her father is Kai, who served as the Meridian's engineer on the previous run. He retired 3 years ago and moved to Shackleton Colony, where he runs a small repair shop near the central atrium. The letter has been in your jacket pocket since Mars. You have not read it. It is not yours to read. The approach takes 2 hours. You spend most of it on the bridge, watching Shackleton Crater resolve from a shadow on the limb into a vast, dark bowl. The crater is 20 kilometers across. The rim catches near continuous sunlight, and you can see the solar arrays glinting along the southern edge, thousands of panels angled toward the sun. The interior is permanently shadowed, water ice billions of years old, locked in the darkness at the bottom. The colony is built into the inner slope, 800 meters below the rim. Shackleton Port Control comes through on the comm, a calm voice unhurried. They assign you Docking Bay 9. The Meridian's navigation system takes over for the final approach, aligning with the port's beacon, matching rotation, closing the distance in slow, precise increments. Through the forward viewport, you watch the docking bay doors open in the crater wall. A pressurized cavity, lit from within, magnetic clamps waiting, home for the next 6 hours. The docking clamps engage. A deep metallic clunk resonates through the ship's hull, travels through the deck plates, through the soles of your boots, through the bones of your feet. Then silence. The engines wind down for the first time in weeks. The hum you had stopped noticing is suddenly gone, and the absence of it is a sound in itself. The Meridian settles, clicks, sighs, the hull contracting as it adjusts to the port's thermal envelope. Through the bay viewport, you can see the ship's hull from the outside, scarred and familiar. The replated sections are a slightly different shade of gray, like patches on an old coat. Robotic cranes are already moving into position along the cargo spine, their arms extending with slow, hydraulic precision. The automated cargo handling rails hum to life. Containers begin to detach. 42 containers of medical supplies lifted away one by one. The crew handles the cargo transfer. Rosario takes the manifest. You sign the Port Authority documents on a scratched tablet in the customs office, a small room with too many screens and a woman who knows your name. "Captain," she says, without looking up. "Mars run?" You nod. She stamps the tablet. "Welcome back to Shackleton." You step through the airlock and into the port. The gravity drops. 1/6 Earth. Your body is suddenly light. Your legs feel as though they might lift you off the floor with each step. The coffee mug you carried from the galley weighs almost nothing in your hand. You set it down on a railing and flex your fingers. Everything is different here. The air is different. The way your body moves through it is different. Docking Bay 9. The pressurized cavity is carved into the crater wall, sintered regolith blocks lining the walls, the surface rough and gray-brown. Heavy pressure doors stand open behind you. The bay smells of cargo lubricant and pressurized air, a metallic tang at the back of your throat. Behind you, the crew begins unloading. The rhythmic clank of containers on the automated rail. You leave them to it. You have 6 hours while the crew unloads the medical supplies and loads the helium-3 fuel pellets. 60 tons of helium-3, extracted from the regolith by the colony's strip mining operations on the sunlit slopes. Worth more per kilogram than anything else the Meridian carries, destined for the fusion reactors at Ceres Station. But that is the next run. For now, you have a letter in your pocket and a colony to walk through. You walk slowly. You have to. In 1/6 gravity, every step wants to become a bound. You keep your center of gravity low, the way you learned years ago. The magnetic boot soles tick softly on the metal grating of the port corridor. Tick, tick, tick. A steady, quiet rhythm, like a clock counting out your progress. The port corridor is wide enough for cargo trolleys and lined with aluminum alloy panels. The ceiling is low, reinforced with steel ribs, insulated with aerogel behind the panels. You can feel the faint warmth of the heating system in the walls, keeping the temperature steady against the 300-degree swings outside. Mylar and Kevlar multi-layer insulation, the port engineer told you once, separating you from vacuum and radiation and the indifferent cold of space. The corridor opens into the commercial concourse. a pressurized gallery connecting the port to the colony proper. The ceiling is still low, but the space widens, and the lighting changes from the harsh white of the docking bay to something warmer, amber, almost golden. Shop fronts line both sides, prefabricated units with hand-painted signs. Colony-made goods in the windows. Ceramics fired from lunar clay. Clothing woven from recycled fibers. A general store with a cluttered display. The smell reaches you before the sign does. Yuki's noodle stand. Rich, savory, layered. The broth, the one she will not explain, drifting through the concourse like an invitation. Yuki Tanaka came to the colony 20 years ago from Sapporo and never left. She runs a 4-seat counter and makes ramen with colony-grown wheat noodles, mushrooms from the lava tube farms, and that broth. It is the best meal on the moon, everyone says so, even the people who have never been to Earth. Yuki waves from behind the counter. She recognizes you, Captain, she says, and nods toward the empty stool at the end. You are not hungry yet, not really, but you know better than to pass her stand without stopping. Not today. You will eat on the way back. You wave, and she nods, understanding. She has seen 1,000 cargo captains pass through this concourse, moving with purpose toward whatever errand brings them ashore. But first, the regolith. It is a tradition. 1 drink on arrival, 1 on departure. The bar is small, 6 stools, a counter made from a repurposed cargo container lid. The metal surface worn smooth by years of elbows and glasses. The ceiling is low enough to touch. The bartender is from Reykjavik, a tall man with quiet hands, and he is already pouring before you sit down. Synthetic whiskey, surprisingly good. He sets the glass in front of you, and you lift it. The amber liquid catches the warm light. You take a sip. It is smooth, with a faint sweetness that real whiskey does not have. A characteristic of the synthetic distillation process, but it is warm going down, and it is familiar, and the bartender asks where you have come from. Mars, you say. Long run, he nods. They are all long runs. You finish the drink slowly. The concourse moves around you at its own pace. People walk slowly here. Everyone does, in the 1/6 gravity. There is no rushing on the moon. The human body will not allow it. Every step is a negotiation with physics, a small act of patience. You watch the people pass. Port workers in coveralls, a family with a child who bounces ahead, entirely comfortable in a gravity that visitors struggle with. A woman carrying a box of hydroponics herbs, basil, and mint, the green bright against the corridor's gray. You set the glass down and nod to the bartender. He nods back. No words needed. You will be back in a few hours for the departure drink. You step off the stool and feel your boots tick against the metal grating as you rejoin the flow of the concourse. The clink of glasses fades behind you. The concourse narrows slightly and then opens again at the colony entrance. A wide pressure door, always open during port hours, leads from the commercial district into the residential quarter. You pass through and the air changes. You feel it immediately. Humidity, warmth, a green living smell that stops you in your tracks. Through a wide viewport to your left, the central atrium is visible below, and it is extraordinary. A pressurized greenhouse dome 60 meters across, filled with green. Birch trees, their white bark bright under full-spectrum grow lights. Ryegrass turf, maintained at 5 centimeters, the softest surface in the colony. A winding stream over mossy rocks. The trees are 50 years old now, the oldest living things in Shackleton, and they press against the upper panels of the dome as though reaching for a sky that is not there. After weeks of ship air, recycled and mechanical, the smell of the atrium is like surfacing from underwater. Soil and chlorophyll, living things exhaling. You stand at the viewport and breathe. Just breathe. The air is warm and thick and full of something that recycled air can never carry: life. The simple, persistent fact of green things growing. The residential quarter is arranged around the atrium dome, 12 cylindrical modules, each housing 200 people across 6 levels, prefabricated pressure vessels 30 meters long, 8 meters in diameter, connected by spiral ramps and enclosed walkways. The modules are made of aluminium alloy, insulated with aerogel, their exterior walls lined with sintered regolith blocks for radiation shielding. From outside, they look industrial. From inside, people have made them home. You walk along the main corridor of the residential level. The floor is composite, warm underfoot. On the walls of the corridor, small herb planters are mounted at regular intervals. Basil, mint, chives, green leaves in small boxes, tended by whoever lives nearest, filling the air with a faint, clean fragrance. Someone has hung a child's drawing on the wall between 2 planters. A crayon rocket, a crayon moon, a crayon earth with a smile on it. Module 4. Ground level. The door to Kai's repair shop is open, as it always is. You can smell it before you reach the threshold. Solder and machine oil. The warm metallic scent of a workshop that never closes. You pause at the doorway and look inside. Tools hang on every wall. Wrenches, pliers, soldering irons, diagnostic probes, items you cannot name, arranged in a system that only Kai understands. Half-finished projects cover every surface. A disassembled water recycler on one bench, a clock mechanism, tiny brass gears spread on a cloth on another. A stack of old circuit boards waiting to be stripped for parts. In the corner, a shelf of mechanical clocks, all ticking, none showing the same time. Armstrong lifts his head from the disassembled navigation computer. A gray tabby, 11 years old, colony-born, possibly the most photographed animal off Earth. He looks at you with the calm indifference of a cat who has seen hundreds of visitors and found none of them particularly interesting. His tail twitches once, then settles. He lowers his head back to the warm surface of the nav computer and closes his eyes. Kai is at the far bench, bent over something small, a magnifying lens clipped to his glasses. He is 63, ex-merchant marine, your old shipmate from the Meridian's previous run. He looks up and sees you, and his face changes. Not surprise, something quieter. Recognition, the kind of smile that carries years in it. "Captain," he says, and stands. He wipes his hands on a rag. You shake hands, and his grip is firm, the hands of a man who still works with them every day. He fixes anything. Electronics, plumbing, mechanical clocks. Broken hearts, people say, though he would never say it himself. You talk for a few minutes. How is the Meridian? How is the run? Who is still aboard? The easy questions. Then you reach into your jacket pocket and take out the letter. You hold it out. From Suki, you say. He looks at the envelope. His daughter's handwriting on the front, the ink slightly smudged where the pen pressed too hard. He takes it from you carefully, as though it might weigh more than it does. He reads it slowly. Twice, his eyes moving across the lines, then returning to the beginning and moving across them again. The workshop is quiet. Armstrong purrs on the nav computer. The mechanical clocks tick, each at their own tempo. The hum of the colony's life support systems is a distant, steady presence, like the breathing of the building itself. Kai folds the letter carefully and puts it in his shirt pocket. He pats the pocket once, gently, as if to make sure it is real. Then he looks at you and nods. "Thank you," he says. Just that. But the way he says it carries everything that the words themselves cannot. You stay a little longer. He makes tea on a small electric burner tucked between a circuit tester and a box of resistors. The tea is colony grown from the hydroponics bays, a mild green variety that tastes faintly of the mineral-rich water they irrigate with. You drink it from mismatched mugs. Armstrong shifts on the nav computer, stretches and resettles, his purring a low vibration in the quiet room. Kai tells you about the colony. 4,000 people now. Founded in 2043, the oldest continuously inhabited settlement off Earth. 240 years of people living, working, raising children in a crater on the moon. The economy runs on helium-3 extraction, water ice export, scientific research, and an emerging tourism industry. The port handles roughly 200 cargo vessels per year. The Meridian is one of many, but she is the one Kai served on, and that makes her different. You set down the mug and tell Kai you want to walk. See the atrium, the lava tube forest, the observation dome if you have time. He nods. You have time, he says. Take the connector tube to the lava tube, then the surface walkway to the rim. 3 kilometers, give or take. In this gravity, your legs will not mind. You leave the workshop. Armstrong does not acknowledge your departure. Kai stands in the doorway, one hand raised, and you walk on. The letter is delivered. The errand is done. Everything from here is for you. A spiral ramp leads down from the residential level to the atrium floor. You descend slowly, the ramp curving around the inside of the module, and with each turn the green grows closer, the air grows warmer, the smell of soil and living things grows stronger. The hum of the life support system fades, replaced by something softer. Water leaves. The small sounds of a garden. You step out onto the main path of the central atrium. The grass is damp under your boots. Real grass. Ryegrass maintained at 5 centimeters, soft and green and impossibly alive. You stop walking and stand still for a moment, feeling it give beneath your weight. This is the most psychologically important surface in the colony, the planners say, a patch of ground that feels like Earth. The birch trees rise around you. 60 engineered specimens, their white bark bright under the full-spectrum grow lights that simulate a late October afternoon. The colony calendar marks it as autumn, and the grow lights have been adjusted accordingly, casting a warm, golden tone that falls through the leaves like sunlight through a window. The leaves are turning pale green, fading to yellow at the edges. A simulated season in a place that has no seasons. The trees are enormous now, after 50 years of growth. Their canopies touch the dome panels overhead, pressing gently against the transparent aluminium, and the light filters through the leaves and casts shifting patterns on the grass below. In 1/6 gravity, the branches arch wider than they would on Earth, reaching outward rather than upward, spreading like open hands. A stream winds through the garden, murmuring over mossy rocks. The water is recycled, of course. Everything here is recycled. But the moss does not know that, and the water does not know that, and the sound it makes is the same sound water has always made, flowing over stone. You walk beside it. The path is soft earth, compressed by years of footsteps. Somewhere a water recycler gurgles quietly in the background, doing its work. A child is reading on a bench near the stream. She looks up as you pass, then back down at her book. Her feet do not touch the ground. A bumblebee drifts past your shoulder, one of the managed colonies that pollinate the agricultural domes, occasionally escaping into the corridors and gardens. It moves slowly in the low gravity, its wings working harder than they need to, hovering with a lazy, contented hum. You cross the garden on the main path. The grass gives way to smooth stone, then back to grass. The stream passes under a small bridge made of sintered regolith, gray and functional, the only reminder that this garden exists inside a pressurized dome on the moon. Beyond the bridge, more birch trees, their white trunks like columns in a cathedral made of leaves and light. The air is thick with humidity. Your skin feels it. After weeks of dry ship air, your lungs feel it. Each breath is full, warm, carrying the scent of earth and chlorophyll, and the faint sweetness of turning leaves. You walk slowly through the garden, letting it settle into you. There is no hurry. There is never any hurry here. On the far side of the atrium, a pressure door opens into connector tube alpha. The garden air gives way to corridor atmosphere. Metal grating underfoot. Handrails on both sides. The ceiling is curved. The tube 3 meters in diameter. A long enclosed walkway linking the residential quarter to the industrial zone. Your magnetic boot soles tick softly on the grating again. The sound is steadier here, rhythmic, echoing slightly in the enclosed space. Small round viewports appear every 10 meters, set into the tube wall at shoulder height. You pause at one and look out. Gray regolith, smooth and undisturbed. A rover track. 2 parallel lines pressed into the dust, running away toward the industrial zone. Nothing else for kilometers. The lunar surface, gray and silent, stretching to a horizon that is closer than you expect. The sky is black stars, sharp and unblinking, above the gray. The hum of air recyclers is constant in the connector tube. A steady, mechanical breathing pushing atmosphere through the colony's veins. Pressurization hiss at the joints where sections of the tube connect. You walk through it, one hand trailing along the handrail, feeling the slight vibration of the colony's systems through the metal. Everything here runs. Everything here is maintained. 4,000 people, breathing, living, held alive by machines that never stop. The connector tube runs for 300 meters. You pass other walkers heading the opposite direction. A maintenance worker with a tool belt. 2 children, holding hands, bouncing slightly with each step, entirely at ease. An older man walking slowly, nodding as you pass. The colony is small enough that people nod at strangers, the courtesy of a place where everyone depends on everyone. At the end of the connector tube, the corridor opens, the temperature rises, the air thickens, and then you see it, and you stop. The lava tube. 3 billion years old. A natural basalt tunnel, formed when the moon was still volcanically active, sealed and pressurized 40 years ago, and converted into something no one could have imagined when the first settlers arrived. A forest. A living, breathing forest, grown inside a cave on the moon. The entrance is a wide pressure bulkhead, reinforced with sprayed basalt concrete and steel ribs. The heavy door stands open, and through it the air pours out warm and humid, carrying the smell of redwood bark and fern and damp earth. A smell so deep and layered that it does not belong here, cannot possibly belong here, and yet it does. You step through the bulkhead and into the forest. The canopy arches overhead, 30 meters up. Engineered coast redwoods, genetically modified for low gravity. Their trunks narrow, but their canopies spreading wide in the gentle pull of 1/6 Earth. They have been growing for a decade, and they have already reached cathedral heights. The basalt ceiling of the lava tube is lost behind a canopy of green. The trees sway gently in the ventilation currents, a slow, lazy movement, as though the forest is breathing. Ferns carpet the basalt floor, emerald green, thick and soft, growing in the warm, humid air with a vigor that would astonish a botanist on Earth. Moss covers the rocks, the fallen branches, the base of the tree trunks, a deep green velvet that holds moisture and releases it slowly into the air. Your boots press into the carpet of fallen needles, and the ground gives softly beneath you. There is no metal grating here, no composite panel, just earth and needles and the soft resilience of growing things. The path winds through the forest, lit by bioluminescent panels set into the basalt walls. They cast a blue-green glow on the rough stone, soft and diffuse, the color of deep water or twilight. The light catches the moisture on the fern fronds and makes them glitter. It catches the bark of the redwoods and turns it the color of old copper. You walk deeper into the lava tube. The air thickens. The humidity rises until you can feel it on your skin, a thin film of warmth and moisture. The smell of living wood surrounds you, rich and resinous. The scent of redwood that has been growing in warm, humid air layered with the green sharpness of fern and the dark, earthy sweetness of moss. You breathe it in again. After weeks of recycled ship air, this is a kind of nourishment. The colony's most ambitious project, begun 40 years ago, a 3-billion-year-old basalt lava tube, pressurized and converted into a forest. The tube extends for 2 kilometers, though only 800 meters are currently cultivated. The rest waits in darkness beyond a sealed bulkhead, empty and ancient and patient. But in this 800 meters, something extraordinary has happened. Life has taken hold. The path is soft with fallen needles. Your boots press into them with each step, and the sound is nothing. Almost nothing, a whisper. The absence of the metallic tick that has accompanied every step since you left the ship. Here, the ground is quiet. The redwood needles cushion your weight and release a faint fragrance with each footfall, as though the forest is answering your presence. You can hear water, a small stream engineered into the cave floor, running over basalt pebbles with a sound like a conversation in another room, soft and continuous. The stream catches the bioluminescent glow from the wall panels and carries it along its surface, rippling light moving over stone. The water is warm. Everything here is warm. The lava tube holds its heat, insulated by 100 meters of basalt on every side. You stop walking. You stand in the middle of the path, deep in the lava tube forest, and you listen. The ventilation currents move through the canopy overhead with a sound like a long, slow exhalation. The stream murmurs. A fern frond brushes against another, displaced by the moving air. Nothing else. No machinery, no voices, no engines. Just the forest, breathing and growing and being in a basalt tube on the moon. Walking through it, you forget you are on the moon. That is what everyone says, and it is true. The trees do not know they are on the moon. The ferns do not know. The moss does not know. They grow because the conditions are right, because there is water and warmth and light. And they are indifferent to the fact that outside this tube there is vacuum and cold and a sky without air. They simply grow. It is what living things do. The redwoods tower above you, their narrow trunks rising like masts from the fern carpet. In 1/6 gravity, the trees grow differently than they would on Earth. The trunks are slender, reaching upward with less need for structural mass. But the canopies spread wide, the branches arching outward with a freedom that full gravity would never allow. The result is something between a redwood forest and a cathedral, the canopy a living roof, the trunks the columns that hold it up. Bioluminescent panels line the basalt walls at irregular intervals, some at ground level, some higher, casting overlapping pools of blue-green light that shift and blend. The light is designed to mimic the dappled illumination of a forest floor. It moves slowly, as if clouds are passing overhead, though there are no clouds, only the programmer's careful simulation of what clouds would do to light if they existed here. You walk on. The path curves gently, following the natural contour of the lava tube. The basalt walls are rough and dark, ancient volcanic rock that has not changed in 3 billion years, now softened by the moss that creeps along their base and the warm light that plays across their surface. You trail your hand along the wall. The stone is warm, rough under your fingertips, real, older than anything you have ever touched. The redwood canopy thickens as you move deeper into the cultivated section. The trees are closer together here, their canopies overlapping, creating a continuous green ceiling that filters the grow lights above into a warm amber haze. The air is fragrant with redwood bark. The thick, fibrous bark of the coast redwood, rich in tannins, releasing a scent that is warm and woody and slightly sweet, like vanilla steeped in forest soil. A bench appears beside the path, carved from a single piece of basalt, smooth and warm. You sit. The ferns press in on either side, their fronds arching over the path at knee height, delicate and intricate. A drop of condensation falls from the canopy above, catching the blue-green light as it descends. It lands on your hand, warm. You close your eyes. With your eyes closed, you could be anywhere. A forest on Earth in autumn, in the rain. The sound of water over stone, the smell of wood and earth and growing things. The warmth of humid air on your skin. Your body does not know the difference. Your lungs do not know the difference. And for a moment, neither do you. You open your eyes. The forest is still there. The bioluminescent light on the basalt walls, the redwood canopy swaying in the ventilation currents, the stream catching light and carrying it. This is the most Earth-like place off Earth, and it exists because 4,000 people decided it should. Because someone, 40 years ago, looked at an empty lava tube and imagined trees. You stand and continue walking. The path rises gently, following the natural slope of the lava tube as it ascends toward the crater wall. The forest thins gradually. The redwoods grow further apart. More light reaches the floor, and the ferns give way to moss and bare basalt. The air cools slightly. Ahead, you can see the far-pressure bulkhead, the end of the cultivated section. You pass through the bulkhead and the forest ends. A short corridor of sprayed basalt, concrete, and steel ribs connects the lava tube to the surface access. The air is drier here, cooler. The smell of redwood fades behind you, replaced by the clean, neutral scent of filtered atmosphere. Your magnetic boot soles find metal grating again, and the familiar tick returns. A pressure door opens, and you step into the surface walkway, and the world changes. A transparent aluminum tube, 3 meters in diameter, 400 meters long, climbing the inner slope of Shackleton Crater toward the rim. Radiation-shielded panels on all sides, above and below. You can see the lunar surface through the floor, through the walls, through the ceiling. Gray regoliths stretching away in every direction. The walkway is a glass corridor suspended over the moon. Sudden silence. The forest sounds are gone. The life support hum is dampened here, reduced to almost nothing. Your breath is audible. Your footsteps on the metal grating echo in the tube, a soft, rhythmic report that sounds louder than it should in the quiet. You walk, and the echo walks with you. The lunar surface stretches away on both sides. Gray, cratered, sunlit on the peaks, shadowed in the depths. No atmosphere to soften the edges. Every crater rim is sharp. Every shadow is absolute black as ink, because there is no scattered light to fill it. The contrast is startling. Brilliant white where the sun strikes, and perfect darkness where it does not. A world drawn in only 2 tones. The sky is black. Not the dark blue of a clear night on Earth, not the deep indigo of high altitude. Black. The absolute black of vacuum. And in that black, stars. More stars than you have ever seen from any viewport on the ship, because the ship is always moving, always vibrating, always interposing some structure between you and the sky. Here, the transparent panels give you the sky unfiltered. Thousands of stars. Tens of thousands, sharp and steady, without the twinkling that atmosphere creates on Earth. The walkway climbs at a gentle angle. The crater rim is above you 800 meters higher than the docking bays where you started. The transparent tube follows the inner slope, rising over gray dust and ancient stone, and with each step the Earth grows larger in the viewport ahead. It sits above the crater rim, half-lit, impossibly blue against the black. You walk slowly. There is nothing to hear but your own breathing and the soft tick of your boots. No sound from outside, no wind, no birds, no machinery. The silence of vacuum pressed against reinforced glass. It is the deepest silence you have ever known. Deeper than the silence between stars, because here you are standing still and the silence is standing with you. Halfway along the walkway, There is a widened section, a bench, a floor-to-ceiling viewport facing south. Away from Earth you sit. Through the viewport, nothing but crater wall, regolith, and stars. The Milky Way is visible in extraordinary detail, a river of light arching across the black sky, dense with stars, textured with dust lanes, glowing with a luminosity that no photograph has ever captured. People come here to sit alone. You understand why? You sit for a while. The bench is smooth metal, cold through your soft suit. The stars do not move. The regolith does not change. Nothing happens. And that is the point. In a life lived aboard a cargo freighter, where the engines hum and the systems run, and the schedule drives you from port to port across the solar system, nothing happening is a luxury. Stillness is a luxury. You sit, and the moon holds you in its gentle gravity, and the stars fill the viewport, and nothing happens at all. You stand and walk on. The transparent tube continues its climb. The Earth grows in the forward viewport with each step. You can see clouds now, white swirls over blue ocean, the coastline of a continent emerging from shadow. You try to identify it. Africa, perhaps, or South America. From here, the continents look smaller than you expect, and the ocean looks larger, and the whole thing looks fragile in a way that photographs never convey. The walkway levels off, the slope eases. Ahead, a structure emerges from the crater rim, a dome of reinforced transparent panels catching the sunlight. The observation dome, the highest point of the colony. You walk the final 100 meters and the pressure door opens and you step inside. The dome is 10 meters across. Benches arranged in a circle. The primary viewport faces north, where the Earth sits permanently above the horizon. Vibration dampeners built into the structure absorb every tremor, every footstep, every mechanical pulse from the colony below. The silence here is engineered, designed, intentional. The dome was built to be quiet, and it is. You sit on a bench facing the Earth. It fills the viewport. Blue, white, impossibly bright against the black, half in shadow. The Terminator line crosses the Pacific, and you can see the city lights on the night side, faint golden pinpricks scattered across the dark. 10 billion people on that sphere, 2 billion more scattered across the solar system. You are one of them, sitting on a bench on the rim of a crater on the moon, looking at home. The lunar surface stretches away in every direction beyond the dome. Gray, cratered, ancient, peaks catching sunlight, valleys in shadow. The footprints of the first explorers are somewhere out there, preserved perfectly in the dust for 300 years because there is no wind to erase them. Nothing erases anything here. The moon keeps everything. No sound from outside. The silence of vacuum pressing against the reinforced glass. Inside the dome, only your breathing, slow and steady, the rhythm of a body at rest. You sit for a long time. You do not check the clock. You do not think about the cargo manifest or the fuel pellets or the next port. You sit and you look at the Earth, and you let the silence hold you. The dome was the first structure completed at the crater rim. It was the reason this site was chosen for the colony, because from here you can see home, and sometimes that is enough. You think about the photograph taped above your desk, the valley on Earth, green in rain. You have never been there. You do not know who took the photograph or where exactly it is. You found it in a second-hand shop on Mars years ago, and something about it stopped you. The green, the rain, the way the light fell through the clouds onto the valley floor. You bought it and taped it to your wall, and it has been there ever since, traveling with you from port to port across the solar system. The Earth turns slowly in the viewport. The shadow moves. The clouds drift. Somewhere down there, rain is falling on a green valley. Somewhere, water is running over mossy rocks and birch trees are turning gold, and the air smells of soil and fallen leaves. Somewhere, a stream is murmuring. You have been listening to streams all day, on the atrium floor, in the lava tube. And now, in memory on a planet you can see from here but cannot reach today. Then the comms unit in your pocket chirps. Rosario's voice calm and clear. Fuel pellets loaded, Captain. 60 tons of helium-3, locked to the spine. Medical supplies offloaded. The hospital has confirmed receipt. Ready when you are? You look at the Earth for one more moment. Blue and white and bright. Then you stand and you turn and you begin the walk back. The return is downhill. Through the surface walkway, the transparent tube descending the crater wall, the stars slowly rotating around you as the path curves. Your footsteps echo softly on the metal grating. The Earth recedes behind you, sinking toward the rim. Ahead, the entrance to the lava tube. Back through the forest, the warm air wraps around you again, and the smell of redwood and fern returns. The bioluminescent panels cast their blue-green light on the basalt walls. The canopy sways above. The path is soft with needles. You walk faster now, but not much faster. The forest asks for slowness, and you give it. Back through the connector tube. The metal grating, the round viewports, the hum of air recyclers. A maintenance worker passes you, nods. The rover track outside the viewport has not changed. The regolith has not changed. The moon does not change. Only the people moving through it change, coming and going, walking and resting, carrying letters and cargo, and the small, persistent need to be somewhere else for a while. Back through the central atrium. The birch trees glow under the simulated afternoon light. The stream murmurs over its mossy rocks. The grass is still damp, still soft, still the most important surface in the colony. A different child sits on the bench now, reading a different book, or perhaps the same child, the same book. You do not stop to check. You cross the garden and climb the ramp to the residential level. You pass Kai's workshop. The door is still open. Armstrong is still sleeping on the nav computer. Kai is bent over a clock mechanism, a magnifying lens clipped to his glasses, the letter in his shirt pocket. He looks up as you pass and raises a hand. You raise yours. No words needed. The distance between the moon and Mars is measured in weeks of transit, but the distance between two people who serve together is measured in gestures like this. A hand raised, understood. Back through the colony entrance. Through the pressure door into the commercial concourse, the warm amber lighting. The shop fronts, the smell of Yuki's broth, still drifting through the corridor, rich and savory and persistent. You stop at Yuki's stand. The stool at the end is open. You sit. She sets a bowl in front of you without asking. Colony-grown wheat noodles, long and pale, curled in the dark broth. Mushrooms from the lava tube farms, sliced thin, their edges curled from the heat. Green onions. A soft boiled egg, the yolk golden and warm. The broth is deep and layered, and she will not explain it. You eat slowly, and it is the best meal on the moon. You finish the bowl. The broth is warm in your chest. Yuki takes the bowl and nods. Next time, she says, next time, you leave a tip on the counter and stand. The regolith. The departure drink. You take the same stool. The bartender from Reykjavik pours without being asked. The same synthetic whiskey amber in the warm light. You lift the glass. Where are you headed? He asks. Series, you say. Long run. He nods. They are all long runs. You drink slowly. The concourse moves around you. The clink of glasses, muffled voices, the distant hum of cargo crane motors from the port, loading the last of the helium-3 pellets onto the meridian spine. Someone laughs in a shop doorway. A child runs past, bouncing in the low gravity. caught by a parent's outstretched hand. The small, ordinary sounds of people living their lives in a pressurized gallery on the moon. You set the glass down, empty. The bartender takes it. "Safe travels, Captain," he says. You nod. You step off the stool and walk toward the port. The concourse narrows into the port corridor. The lighting shifts from amber back to white. The composite flooring gives way to metal grating. Your boots tick against it. Tick, tick, tick. The rhythm of departure. Behind you, the colony. Ahead, the ship. Docking Bay 9. The Meridian sits in her berth, the magnetic clamps holding her steady. The cargo arms have retracted. The containers on her spine are different now. Medical supplies gone, helium-3 loaded. 60 tons of fuel pellets, worth more per kilogram than anything else she carries. The hull is the same, scarred and replated, the same ship. Your ship. The airlock cycles, a hiss of pressurization, the two atmospheres equalizing. The inner door opens and the ship's air surrounds you again. Familiar and close. Recycled air, machine oil, the faint residue of coffee from the galley. The smell of home, not the green living home of the atrium or the forest, but the mechanical home, the hull and bulkhead home, the home that moves. You walk through the ship. The corridor is narrow, lit by strip lighting in the ceiling panels. You pass the galley where Patel is sitting with a cup of tea, staring at a technical readout. The hydroponics bay is to your left, a small compartment where the ship grows lettuce and herbs under UV grow lights to supplement the stored rations. The lettuce is pale green and thin, nothing like the atrium garden, but it is alive and it is growing, and in the long weeks between ports it matters. The engines begin their pre-departure sequence. You feel it before you hear it. A vibration in the deck plates rising from somewhere deep in the ship's belly. The drive core warming up. The reactor coming back to life after 6 hours of stillness. The hum returns. Not the silence of the observation dome. Not the breathing of the lava tube forest. The hum, your hum. The sound that carries you from world to world. You reach your cabin, 3 meters by 4. The bunk, the desk, the viewport, the books on the shelf, the photograph of the valley on Earth green in rain. Everything where you left it, everything as it always is. You sit on the bunk, the frame is firm beneath you. The mattress gives slightly under your weight. The pillow holds the shape of last night's sleep. You pull off your boots one at a time and set them on the deck. Your feet are warm against the plate. The heating ducts behind the wall panels keep the cabin at a steady 21 degrees. The ship takes care of you. It always does. Through the viewport, you can see the docking bay walls moving. No, the ship is moving. The magnetic clamps have released, and the Meridian is easing backward out of Docking Bay 9, guided by the port's automated systems, slow and steady. The bay lights slide past the glass. The heavy pressure doors stand open and, beyond them, the dark of the crater interior. Stars appear at the edges. The ship clears the bay. The moon fills the viewport, gray and vast and silent. The crater rim is above you, catching sunlight. The solar arrays glinting. Somewhere up there is the observation dome, 10 meters of transparent glass where you sat and looked at the Earth. Somewhere below is the lava tube forest, where redwoods grow in basalt and the air smells of living wood. Somewhere in between is a repair shop where a gray tabby sleeps on a navigation computer and an old engineer reads a letter from his daughter, twice, and folds it carefully and puts it in his pocket. The drive engages, a low rising hum that fills the cabin, fills the ship, fills your body. The deck plates vibrate with it. The bunk frame carries it into your bones. It is not a sound you hear so much as a sound you become part of, the hum of the Meridian, pushing outward, heading for the next port. Sirius Station, 3 weeks away. The moon shrinks in the viewport. The crater rim becomes a line. The solar arrays become a glint. The colony becomes invisible, folded back into the gray surface, indistinguishable from the rock and dust that surround it. 4,000 people, a forest of redwoods, 60 birch trees, a stream over mossy rocks, a cat named Armstrong, a bowl of ramen, a glass of synthetic whiskey. All of it held inside the moon, now out of sight, continuing without you. You lie back on the bunk. The pillow is cool against the back of your neck. The cabin light is dimming, the amber panel easing down to its night setting. The viewport shows stars now, and the shrinking disk of the moon, and beyond it, somewhere, the Earth blue and bright and 384,000 kilometers away. The ship settles into its transit rhythm. The centrifugal ring spins up, and the gravity shifts back to 0.8 Earth, and your body adjusts, becoming slightly heavier, the bunk pressing up against you with familiar firmness. The coffee mug you left on the galley table will be waiting in the morning. Rosario will be reading her technical manual. Patel will be staring at the bulkhead. The hum deepens. The ship is accelerating now, gently pushing away from the moon toward the vast dark between here and the belt. 3 weeks. 21 days of corridor and galley and viewport and bunk. 21 mornings of the amber panel brightening slowly. 21 cups of acceptable coffee. The rhythm of the ship, the rhythm of the run. Your eyes are heavy. The cabin is warm. The deck plate hums against the bunk frame, carrying the drive's vibration into the mattress, into the pillow, into the bones of your skull. It is a lullaby written in engineering, a frequency designed for nothing, meant for nothing, that happens to be exactly right for falling asleep. You think about the forest, the redwood canopy, 30 meters overhead, swaying in the ventilation currents, the ferns emerald green on the basalt floor, the stream murmuring over engineered pebbles, the bioluminescent light on the ancient walls, a forest in a cave on the moon. You walked through it today. You breathed its air. You sat on a basalt bench and closed your eyes and forgot where you were. You think about the observation dome, the silence, the earth in the viewport, blue and white and bright, hanging in the black, turning slowly. The city lights on the night side, golden pinpricks scattered across the dark. Home for everyone. Even the people who have never been there. Even the people who were born on the moon, who grew up in 1/6 gravity, who have only ever seen the earth through a viewport. It is still home. The word carries something that distance cannot diminish. You think about Kai reading the letter, slowly, twice, folding it carefully, putting it in his shirt pocket, patting the pocket, the cat on the nav computer, the clocks on the shelf, all ticking, none showing the same time, the smell of solder and machine oil, a man who spent 20 years on cargo ships and then found a place to stop. Maybe one day you will stop too. Find a place, a workshop, a garden, a window looking out at something that does not move. But not today. Today the ship is humming and the stars are sliding past the viewport, and the next port is 3 weeks away, and this is where you belong, in the space between places, in the long haul. The cabin light is almost dark now. The amber panel has dimmed to a faint glow, barely enough to see by. The viewport shows stars. The hum of the drive is low and steady. The vibration so constant it has become a kind of stillness. Your breathing slows. Your hands relax on the bunk. The ship carries you. The books on the shelf are held by the bungee cord. The photograph of the valley is taped to the wall. The heating ducts hum behind the panels. The ship smells of recycled air and machine oil and the last trace of coffee from the galley. Everything is where it should be. Everything is as it always is. Your eyes close. The stars are still there, behind your eyelids, sharp and steady in the black. The hum is still there, in the deck plates, in the bunk, in the slow, heavy warmth of your body settling into rest. The ship moves through the dark, carrying its cargo of helium-3 and its crew of 11, and its captain who walked through a forest on the moon today, and delivered a letter and looked at the earth from the rim of a crater, and is now falling asleep to the sound of the engines. The meridian carries you on, through the dark, through the silence, toward the next port, and the one after that, and the one after that. The long haul. The long, quiet, steady haul through the spaces between worlds. You sleep, the ship hums, the stars turn. And somewhere on the moon, in a repair shop in Module 4, a gray tabby cat shifts on a navigation computer, and an old man reads a letter one more time before turning out the light. The aquaculture tanks in the agricultural module will be glowing softly now, back at Shackleton. Tilapia and catfish circling under grow lights, their silver flanks catching the blue-white glow, turning and turning in their warm-lit water. The lab mice in the biology labs will be sleeping in their enclosures, curled into small, warm shapes. The hydroponics bays will be growing quietly in the dark, wheat and soybeans and lettuce and tomatoes and strawberries, reaching toward the UV lights with the slow, patient certainty of all growing things. And the bumblebees will be sleeping in their hive boxes in the agricultural dome. Wings still, their small bodies warm in the cluster. The pollinators of a world that has no flowers of its own, resting until the grow lights brighten and the next cycle begins. Even on the moon, the bees sleep. Even on the moon, the day has an end. The hum of the drive is the only sound now. Low, constant, steady, it does not change. It does not falter. It carries the ship and everyone in it through the dark between the moon and the belt. The sound of a machine doing what it was built to do. The sound of momentum. The sound of trust. You trusted it when you stepped aboard 20 years ago, and you trust it now, and it has never let you down. Your breathing slows. The cabin is dark. The viewport holds the stars, steady and bright, the ancient light of suns you will never visit, crossing the void to reach this small, round piece of glass in your cabin wall. The light has been traveling for years, decades, centuries, and now it arrives, and you are here to see it, and your eyes are closing, and the light does not mind. Sleep now, the ship hums, the stars turn, the moon falls away behind you, gray and quiet, holding its forests and its gardens and its people in the dark. Ahead, the long haul. Ahead, Ceres. Ahead, the next port, and the port after that, and the slow, steady circuit of a cargo ship through the worlds of the inner solar system. But for now, there is only the hum, and the dark, and the warmth of the cabin, and rest. The Meridian moves through the dark, her engines humming, her hull steady against the black. The moon is behind you now, a gray disk shrinking in the viewport, and ahead there is nothing but stars and silence and the long, quiet run to Ceres. The ship carries you. The drive hums in the deck plates. The cabin is warm. Let the hum carry you deeper. Let the dark hold you. Let the distance between worlds become the distance between waking and sleep. Sleep now. The Meridian carries you on. Good night.